Well, hi everyone. This is Leigh Pettus with Friends of Lawrence County Animals, and you are watching or listening to the Lawrence County Animal Hour. We have a great show this week, don't we, Ginger?
We do.
Yeah, I have Ginger Morgan, who is director of our animal shelter with a new name. Ginger, would you like to? I know we talked about it a little bit last week.
We did.
But it does. Our shelter has a new name now. Would you like to say what it is and why the change?
Of course. It's Lawrence County Lawrenceburg Animal Shelter. And the reason that we changed the name to Lawrence County Lawrenceburg Animal Shelter, which is a mouthful to say, is because people, once management of the shelter went over to the county, people were thinking that, well, that we weren't going to take any dogs in from the city, or we still weren't taking dogs in from the county. So I thought if we just change the name to Lawrence County Lawrenceburg, there should stop the confusion.
It says exactly what it is.
Exactly.
Correct?
And I will say that nobody has been confused this week. So
that's a good thing. So we're excited this week because it is International Assistance Dog Week. I know so many of us see people with their animals, whether it's grocery shopping, doing everyday life's work. And in Lawrence County, we might see it a little bit more than the normal person. And that's because we have a wonderful organization called Working Dogs for Vets. And we're so excited this week to have Brenda and Ken with that organization and along with Peanut. Thanks, Peanut, for coming. Can we talk to her? Ken, is that okay?
As long as she don't acknowledge it.
Okay. And Ken's going to get into that a little bit more. We learned something right before we actually came on today. So Peanut is in training. How long, Ken, has Peanut been in the program?
About a year now. She's got half of that at prison, another half at the farm.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So we're just excited to have them. I wanted to know, can you tell us a little bit more about your organization and how long you've been in Lawrence County?
Oh, we've been here doing this for over almost 20 years. I used to do it on a real small scale. I'd rescue a couple of dogs. I'd train them. I get letters from veterans all over the country. And back then it was kind of like a lottery. If it was a good story, you go to bag, then you shake it up, call a veteran up, let them know you have a dog.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's about 15 years ago was outgrowing my income. You know what I mean? We're getting up to where there's $150 that I pay for everything. And I decided we better start letting people help because we're at the end of my limit. I'm getting older. I can't work as hard. And the bills is going up. So
yes,
it was no choice. You become a charity or just go back to doing a couple dogs a year. But it was it's really weird to start it here. Never intended to be an organization. Now we got trainers all up and down the East Coast, some out west, but more, we say we're national, but it's more on the East Coast. We're getting somewhat of a response from the state of Tennessee to try to get the dogs trained in prison here.
Mm-hmm.
But some of the other programs, the one that goes so fast that we've got to try to figure out how to keep up with. And the federal prison system wants to give me a couple hundred inmates to do dogs. I got to figure out the logistics of getting these dogs moved to come here because when they leave prison, they still have a long ways to go to get there. They get it through the basic, try to weed out the good ones from the back, who's going to make it, who's going to get adopted, whatever.
Right.
But just the logistics on it's going to be a nightmare because even though, like in prison, you think, well, they're training for free, but just the little bit amount of dogs they have in prison now, 1 month before the dogs had major things going on one time, we got hit with $11,000 worth of vet bills. There's a lot of shelters that don't even have that much to run on for the month, let alone.
Right.
And I have somebody else take care of the vet bills now as far as who makes the decision because they're the ones you have in the program for a long time. You got a veteran sit there, the tears of his eyes, you know the dog, you know that you can make a bad choice. When it comes to big vet bills, we have somebody else make the decision because I might seem like the toughest one there, but when it comes to something like that, I might be the weakest. I have other people make those decisions
I think
when it happens.
it's hard to make those decisions.
Yeah,
Yes.
But you have to weigh how many dogs you will be able to help and how many veterans you'll be able to help versus spending all that money on that one dog. But the whole world would come down on hard. Or you had that dog put down. It was like, well, look, it was either that or we can't help another 100 dogs that year. They don't realize your basic financial decision. If you base them on your heart, you're hurting a lot of people.
Yes.
So what was your inspiration to start the program or the organization?
I think I've always liked to rescue dogs. I've always been around dogs, and I get bored easy. Honestly, I would, even when I had dogs, I would get a couple of rescue, get them turned around and give them to somebody else. Did I go on my vacation or whatever? Did I come back, I'd get a couple more dogs and I get them turned around because everybody says we rescue dogs. To me, a dog is not rescued until it's trained. It just goes from one shelter to the next shelter, to the next shelter, to the next shelter. And I always said that all dogs that go to the first shelter should have to be chipped so we can figure out where all it fell and so we know what to do next.
Absolutely.
But everybody takes it as a success, but 3 years, as well as I try to keep up with this dog, the reality is there's going to be 15 to 20%. I could not tell you what happened to it. We try to keep that number down, but it's impossible. People move. They say you can't say, well, look, if you take one of our dogs, you're never going to move. And if we don't hear back from you, there's
Right.
You always, you try to put them in the best situation, but you just can't tell where they're at, you know what I mean? But try to keep that down. But I wish I could tell you, it's like, somebody would told me it was going to be this big. I don't know if I'd have wanted to do it. You know,
It has grown. And one of the things I think too with the growth is with the No Veteran Left Behind program, the veterans are paying it forward and they're helping another team.
That's
Which
wonderful. Yeah.
yes, which is wonderful. And that's, where the best medicine is when they're giving back to the community and they're full
Right.
circle and it's the healing process.
Yeah, we have a few of the groups around the country that are bigger than ours. When the people come in there, they couldn't even walk a dog.
Yeah, some of the veterans that have graduated
Yeah,
the program
they
have
graduated,
started,
studied.
their groups.
That
Oh,
is,
that's
and
that
nice.
is great.
It just continues to
It-
grow.
So it just continues to grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's such a need.
There really is. There really
Obviously.
is.
Everybody thinks these dogs are such great medicine. Like she said, that's the beginning of it. When you actually in society and you're helping, because a lot of these guys say they come out of the Army and Marine, whatever, and they're a sergeant. And they say, look, we can no longer use you. And they just make them feel like, I don't care how you subsidize your income or whatever. It's like you just took a man who was very important and told him to go watch TV for the rest of your life.
Right.
And that, if you weren't depressed when that hits you, you're going to get it.
Right.
And especially the younger ones. If you're 35 years old, someone just told you you're retired, you got to have something to do. And I encourage all of them, if you can't come here because they might live somewhere else, there's a shelter. And if you really want to learn about dogs, give me a couple thousand hours in the shelter, and I promise you, you're going to learn way more than
Yes.
you're going to learn.
Oh,
about
Ginger
dogs
can
for
tell
6
you
months.
about that for sure.
yeah.
You want to learn how not to get bit, go to the shelter.
Yeah,
You want to learn how
exactly.
to select a dog, there's only one place to do it. Now, as far as training, everybody's like, what style training you? I work with all different kinds of training. I got someone sit there and tell you why it has to be all positives. Other ones will tell you this. With me, with rescue dogs, if you're using anything other than toys for the first couple of months, you're making the situation worse instead of better. You build a bond before you start any kind of a correction of withholding food or anything like that. You're already dealing with an animal who might have PTSD itself, which you get.
Right.
Right.
And everybody who sees a dog that backs up automatically assumes that dog was abused. And the reality is it went through a fear period and the people didn't know how to address it.
Yes.
And they just locked it in. And
Yes.
you gotta, the challenge is to try to figure out if it could be fixed or where it could be fixed. But training any dog, I tell all of it, it's not a waste of time.
How-
If you got 6 months into this dog and it knows all the obedience, it knows how to remind someone to take their medication on time and stuff, you will find it a good home. It's not a waste of time.
Yes. How many trainers do you actually have?
What I would call trainers that I can say any dog to, just maybe
handful.
15 or 16 now. When it comes
Okay.
to somewhere you can get a well-behaved dog that we've already worked with at the farm or something like that, I'd say 50 or 60, but it's limited. You got to really know where your trainer's staying with knowledge on the dog who you can send to help with what situation. And when you're dealing with people who also have problems, you got to know that the trainer can handle the dog's problems and the person's problems that you're sending them to, which makes it a whole more, it makes it more
Challenge.
complicated.
That makes it a
Yeah.
whole different
Because you have to
ballgame.
think about
Right.
Logistics of the people too. It's like I
Yes.
would never send a combat veteran to hang out with somebody's wife 3 days a week. Whatever. So you have a lot of things you have to consider. And with the veterans, you got to consider things like that. Veteran says they want a German Shepherd. You find out their wife has OCD. It just the dog has to help the veteran, but it has to fit in the family.
Right. Yeah.
Has to be a great fit.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now you're out in Buffalo Road, right?
Yes.
And how large is your place? I've kind of looked, and you have it looks like you have a really large facility.
Yeah.
there.
But it's small because we took it. We were at the old house. Literally, we were having an event. We had 160 veterans in the yard with
Oh,
dogs,
wow.
and an ice storm decided to come.
Oh,
And
wow.
we're like trying to cram in this little house, and I'm like,
We outgrew the space when we were out on the highway,
But
on
we
the
got out
highway here.
farm, and all of a sudden the pandemic hit. It hit just like one thing after another. So it never ever really got off the ground. You know what I mean? It's like it exists, and we're not going to go anywhere. But if we're at the point right now, the federal prison program, I'm going to go talk to some of the bigger organizations who could afford it,
Better
and
get back
figure
over
out
there.
how we can keep it in this county. And
Oh, yeah.
unfortunately, when you reach out to most of the politicians around it, you don't get a whole lot of response. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, but they act like they're just like our governor. They act like they're going to do some of that smile, but at a later date, you told me it ain't there. It's like,
Oops, peanut.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, now this is a good opportunity because we all sat there, we talked about it. What did I do that was totally wrong? I wanted to bend down and just give Peanut bunches of kisses when I first saw her. And
Oh.
you were really good about it. And you were so nice in the same way told me that happens quite a lot when,
Yeah,
and that's not the right thing to do.
yeah, you've been surprised. It's usually the children now who are correcting the adults because they learn at school. They leave the dogs alone.
Yes,
Especially
yes.
the ones that, like I said, the little cute dogs. Like
Yes.
they were trying to get her to stop the bite wiggle and everything because they she's more than glad to get the attention.
Yes.
But what people don't realize, people with really bad handicaps and stuff like that, they're 100% counting on that dog to be for a medication.
Yes.
Alert, diabetic alert, seizure alert. When that dog is distracted, you're putting them in danger.
Yes.
And one of the biggest problems we have now, some of the veterans, it took me years to get them out of the house to train a dog to do this, to do that. Now in Lawrenceburg, because it's some of my own veterans, if you ever see one of my veterans with our patches, call me if you see people patting their dog. I was more glad to
8-4 dogs help.
put them out of the program. Because my combat veterans, which the detentions are doing it, the guys who truly put their life on the line for our freedom,
Yes.
that's why I started this.
Right.
The
Yeah.
other veterans that we help, it's because they help me help them.
Yeah.
And if they're going out of their way to make sure my combat veterans can come out of the house, I'm not in for that. I don't like it. I don't like it when I go to Walmart, see people with a monkey, people who have dogs and buggies. These are illegal. But it's
That is a good point. If you
it-
bring your own dog in to a facility, I mean, any type of establishment, and there's a service dog there, it could get distracted, correct? Is that what
well,
you're...
well, here's the thing. You
possibly?
need to serve the dog. The dog shouldn't, if the dog's well trained, that dog shouldn't bother each other. But if
Right.
the dog's lunging towards their dog, trying
Right.
to play with their dog, it
Right.
doesn't belong in there.
Yes.
You got some training to do. The law says you
Yes.
can train your own. The only time there's restrictions on this is when you enter a base or any federally funded business, then you have to be with a recognized program and all that. But as far as the general public, you do have a right to do it. But at nowhere in this, just bring your dog to the store. Is it cool? Train it. It's not that hard. I mean, if you adopt a dog, work with it. If you're ready to take it public, remember there's a lot of people who count on this. If you're going out just because you think it's cool, you let people pet your dog, you're doing it because you need attention. That's just basically like you're picking on somebody who's crippled. You don't go there.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you're actually taking away from somebody who needs help, and you're kind of selfish if you do that. You want to be cool, take your dog down the park and play frisbee. People come over and tell you how well
Yes.
your dog's doing.
Yes.
But at Walmart, you know, I mean, places that's not where to do it. Because
Yeah.
you're actually somebody else who's handicapped can no longer leave their house because you want to be cool.
Yeah.
That's
So
the
it's
purpose of everybody else training their dog.
Now, when I notice the volunteers, and I love it because we have adoption events at Tractor Supply, and we see you guys go through there, and it's so great. And everybody's on a mission, and we know how to act much better than I did earlier today.
it's hard when you're an
Let's just put
animal
a-
lover not
Yes.
to pet the dog.
Let me
But
tell
you
you,
have to
she
look
was,
at them.
she was tickling my feet earlier,
Yes.
and I was like, just
It's
like,
so hard not to.
keep your hands to
But-
yourself.
but
Keep your
the thing
hands to
is,
yourself.
Yes.
If you're distracting a service dog, it's like they're actually considered medical equipment.
Yes.
And they still have great lives at home that when their vests come off, they're just a dog again. They could play, but they know the difference when it's emergencies and different things they have to do. They have those tasks that they learn to help their
So it's the
person.
vest.
when
Are
the
you
vest
training them when the vest is on?
you're working.
Yep.
When
Right.
it comes off, you know, they can be pet and stuff like that. But we don't want to distract a service dog. It's actually illegal to distract a service dog.
Yes.
And so we want to be mindful.
So where else do you guys like to go in your volunteers other than Tractor Supply? Do you go other
Yeah,
places?
they go out. It depends on how far along the dog is in training and what kind of relationship we have with the store. Because even legally, since we are a nationally recognized school, we could go in anywhere. I would not do that with a new dog in somebody's restaurant. Just bring
Right.
it in. It's because people don't realize when the service dogs in training, it's more or less back to the state and who are you training with. There is no federal laws to protect you with your barking dog in the store. I actually get upset with the managers. I'm like, they're going to continue to do it as long as you allow it. The law clearly states they can ask you to remove that dog. They do have to offer you assistance to come back in the store. But your dog's misbehaving, whether it's one of our dogs or anybody else's, they're having a bad day. If you ain't got enough sense to walk out,
Right.
the manager should have enough sense to walk you out.
That's
Walk
good
you
to
out.
know.
Yeah, that's great.
People have a right to shop in peace. Just
So you
because
go
you're
around the
disabled, you don't have a right to take that away.
We've made trips to the square, and then we've even done a long distance trip. We went to Washington D.C.
Oh,
and
wow.
participated, had a
It's not
suicide awareness walkathon.
place to train a service dog. You got to get to Walmart on Fridays about as busy as we're going to get.
Well,
around here.
yeah, and that can get pretty busy
It does.
at times.
It does. It does.
At times, yeah, it does. I was going to say earlier, I had a dog that was a therapy dog, and everybody confused him with a service
Right.
dog. I said, well, he's probably
Yes.
emotional support for me because I love him. But it was funny when you said the vest. When I put his therapy dog vest on him, he knew where we were going.
Absolutely.
And he knew it was kind of like, he might have been slumped over, and I put that vest on him, and he's like,
Yep, perks right up.
Oh, yeah,
And it's just
this means
well,
I'm
that-
special.
that click, they know it's time to get serious. It's not even so much
Yeah.
the fact. You got a lot of guys that train with e-collars and stuff for competition. You're not allowed to use them in the competition. But when they
You gotta go to a
usually
flat
use a
collar.
Yeah,
snap
yeah.
collar, because when that dog hears that snap,
The snap,
it's
it's-
game on. And they,
Yeah.
and they learn just like a young soldier when the young guys with the uniform on, believe it or not, they're no
work.
better than the college kids when the uniform comes off. But during the day when that uniform's on, they're acting like
Right.
yeah,
that's kinda funny, yeah.
Understand that it's time to work. When I get off work, I get you're held to a different standard when you're at work.
Right.
If you hear
Yeah.
my mouth at the house, if I did that at place where I was employed, I wouldn't be employed. very
Right.
long.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They begin to understand it's time to work. And what is some time off?
You know,
They
I
always-
think that's great that they do have time off. I don't think I understood that for some reason. I mean, I knew the dog had time to sleep and the dog was eating, but I always thought that the dog was on. And that's not feasible, is it? You have some
You have to have a break.
downtime.
You gotta have
Absolutely.
a break. You gotta have
Yeah,
fun.
and they're like
Yeah.
most
You gotta be a
kids,
dog.
and some adults. I'm an adult. If I don't have a structured environment, I lose it. I have to know what's happening at 9. I have to know what's going on 1. And when we get off that
Yes.
schedule, my head gets red. My blood pressure's like, you know what I'm saying? You have to be.
I wish I had a schedule.
It's like the structured environment is the easier it is for them to learn. If
Yes.
you start your training every day at 7, and you start switching it up on them, it's not the dog. You might have the smartest dog in the world. You're just not giving it the structure it needs to learn.
Right.
And that's what gets complicated when you use the volunteers to help train, because you can't jump around and expect to get that dog where it needs to be.
Yeah.
But I tell everybody all the time, I have a job that a 5-year-old could do. They follow me around for years. It's just consistency. It's over and over until you get an automatic reaction out of that dog. If you normally, right now this arm messed up, but normally if you want to grab it, you don't have to think about it and do this. How the dog the same way they know what's next. It's like a good job laborer on the job. You don't have to sit there and keep telling them what's next. If you work together so much, they know what's next. You don't have to talk to your dog at all. They're actually moving and they're actually ready to graduate at that point. When you see them in the store, they have to correct them, do this, do that. They got a long ways to go.
So
That's why,
yeah.
do you get your dog? Where do you get your dogs to start training? I know some
The
of them.
earlier the better.
Okay.
98% of our dogs are from rescue groups and shelters.
Okay.
And we have a couple prisons that we work with, one in Danville, Kentucky, and one in Cortland, Ohio. They're
Okay.
actually all veterans in their own wing that train the dogs for 6 months to a year. And then they come to headquarters and we match them with our in-house program with the combat veterans, more severely disabled veterans. And then we have the No Veteran Left Behind program, where we help veterans to train their own dog that they adopt from shelters or rescue groups. And then
What
we
is
also
that? Did they come in, or is it an online program, or both?
they come to us.
Oh, they come here.
You're the closest trainer. That's how they're not allowed to tell somebody they're accepted to the program until we find a trainer, which makes my job difficult because every person who says they're a dog trainer We can't get here. I got to get to them. And you get there,
We travel
you might have been doing
sometimes.
this for 20 years, but you've been doing this wrong for 20 years, and that's not acceptable for any animal around me. So I
Right.
believe in correcting animals. Yes, I believe in correcting children too, but there's a limit to what.
Each dog's
Work with.
different.
There's a
Yes.
fine line
The
between
level.
correction and abuse, and most people don't know that where it's at. That's why
Right,
you got to
yeah.
watch it. If you're training somebody to be a violence trainer, you got to be careful, because if you hand somebody a pinch collar or e-collar, 98% of them are going to misuse it. That's why I stay more with. If you're talking to somebody who has anger issues, you're going to help them train their dog. You
All
have to
positive.
show more positive. 'Cause if you get into anything else, you don't know.
Right. Yep.
Yep, and most
wanna
people
make sure
don't know where that
everyone-
line is. It's like I know some of the. Every time I tell people it's like clicker trainer only, I was like, when one of you guys is standing on any real competition stage in first place, we'll talk. But don't give me that's the best way to. This is
Yeah,
the only way
yes.
to do something.
Yes.
When
Each team's different.
You refuse to compete because you know you won't have the best dog at the end of the day. And to me, a service dog, if they can't take a light correction, they're not going to make it as a service dog. So we go ahead and get away from the clicker. But when the shelter dogs, when I do get one that's shaky, nervous, we start with playing. We got to have a relationship with where we start with correction. And the biggest problem I have with trainers, even my trainers, is they all think they know too much. If you see me work with somebody the first time, I let them know, hey, look, I'm running behind. Going out there, I'll be out in about 20 minutes. They don't realize I'm watching. I want to see what kind of relationship they have. It's just even a match, because especially if it's a paid client, I don't want to waste my time and have a bad dog going around saying, I charge you money, the
Right.
dog's acting like that.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And a lot of people want to pick a dog because it's cool. They don't go through say, hey, what's my personality? What's my energy level? If these don't match, I don't care how cool your dog looks.
Yes.
You're already lost. You're a low energy
Yes.
person goes to the library once a week, but you want a German Shepherd that wants.
You
Wide
got to
open.
have that connection.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's so important. Well, that is so intriguing. That is wonderful. You've got a formula, and it works.
Well, you got to look at the
Yes.
veteran like they're a dog. If they
Yeah.
were a dog, what kind of dog would they be? Everybody's not a lab. Everybody's not.
That's right. We need to look at everybody like
Yeah.
that.
Well, you know,
I don't know what I would be. Ginger.
you know, I've taken those little tests. You know, that it's like if you were a dog, what would you be like on Facebook
And what
or
did they
something?
say you
All
were?
American
Well,
mutt.
Oh,
I got
that's great.
one time I
My
got.
favorite.
I think I've done it 3 or 4 times. One time I think I got German Shepherd, I got Chihuahua, and Pit Bull.
Oh, there you go.
So I figured the Chihuahua part came in because I'm just gonna wear you out. You know, I'm just gonna keep on yapping until you just give in.
Now, I know that we talked about the differences. You mentioned you've had a therapy dog. So you have assistance dogs, emotional support dogs, therapy
Well,
dogs.
we don't do the therapy dogs. And the simple
Right.
reason is some of the guys want to take their dog and go it's like to the nursing home and stuff. But I'm like, you cannot get mad at your dog if you're taking it out to seek attention one day and the next day it's in an environment where it's not allowed to seek attention.
Yes.
A lot of dogs are not going to do 2 or 3 jobs.
Yes.
If you have one like that, I'd rather you don't put it all over Facebook because everybody's like, well, they did it. I want to do it too. It's 2 different standards. And ones that want to go visit kids are always scared.
They're totally
because
different.
Here's the thing, a kid
Yes.
that's dying and you got a male dog that's never been in that situation. To them, they would never let something else suffer. They would end it. When you start talking about getting a therapy dog,
That's
it's not
scary.
a different type of dog you need. It's the person has to be a lot more cautious because you're taking in where the dogs are going. It's not a good
Absolutely.
environment.
You know,
It's a different thing.
Yes.
I evaluated some therapy dogs as well, and I also went through a training where I trained some of them, which is basic, but it was like your dog is not rock solid. You know, I even with my dog Pete, you know, they can't growl, they can't do this, they can't bark. There's like they can't. And I took him to. He was a Rottweiler German Shepherd mix, so bear those 2 things in mind.
Yes.
Loved children, loved everything. I took him to an Alzheimer's daycare, and there was a man that was sitting in a chair that was almost kind of catatonic and just kept staring at me. Well, I could feel the
Yes.
vibration. You couldn't hear anything, but I could feel the vibration in the leash, and I had to keep breaking that.
Refocus onto you,
Exactly.
kind of
I would
thing,
get,
yes.
you know, I would get my dog to look over here or sometimes, but he kept, and so we just cut it short, and then I wound up not going back because
Yeah.
there was going to be.
There's a liability risk
There's
in
a
all kinds
there's
of
a
things.
huge liability.
Absolutely.
And not only that, I didn't want to ruin it for any of the other dogs that might go for
right.
that. Now, I could take him. He was the first dog that St. Jude let in the hospital. The kids could climb on him. They could do anything. But an adult man making eye
Yeah, and
contact
there's
like that.
Sometimes just different.
Yeah,
You don't like every
Yeah,
person
he
you
was,
meet.
and exactly.
The
And he
dogs are
was-
the same way.
And he was still extremely protective of me in certain situations.
You have to watch it. That's
Exactly.
a service dog, because I could have a dog out and the dog acts fine. I could give that same dog to a female or even a smaller veteran who's intimidated by somebody.
Yeah.
You get certain dogs, like a well-bred shepherd is not an ideal service dog because of that protective instinct. And
Right.
If you're nervous and this dog wants to protect you, you have to weigh out the public safety more than anything, because you don't have
Exactly.
a right to intimidate people because you have a disability. You know what I mean? You don't have
Right.
a right to put somebody else in danger because you have a disability. And I go over it with the veterans all the time. It's like, look, when you're training your dog, you start out, you think the dog ready to go to a restaurant. Go to a fast food place. If they kick you out at 5 years, you're like, you don't go to the steakhouse where somebody might get to go as a treat, and they're sitting there, your dog sitting there begging
Yes.
if they wasn't ready to be there.
Yeah.
You have to actually
You got to work
get
your
the
way
dog,
up.
work your way up. If you go one of these fast food places that have the kids don't know how to act, if your dog's not acting right, get your stuff, you pick your stuff up and
Okay.
get out of
Try
there.
again
and
later.
ask not to come back.
Right.
And
And
like I said, they might add a 5 years, but you gotta. Unfortunately, you shouldn't have to have all this written down because it's mostly common sense. But there's not a whole lot of that out there.
right.
Well, I will say,
we all need
my
a
brother-
refresher
Yes,
every now and then.
Absolutely.
my brother says there's nothing common. There's no more common in common sense.
Right.
You
I'm
know.
around
So.
dogs all day. I'm sure if you come in my house, you can smell dog. And I can't tell. But if we take this dog right now to a steakhouse, it would not be fair to take the dog straight from here to there. Guess what? Somebody who doesn't own dogs, you're sitting
Yeah.
right next to him in the next booth, you're being very disrespectful.
They need to be very well
And they can
groomed.
smell a dog. Ask
Yeah.
your dog when you're going somewhere. Take care of it. Make sure it's groomed, clean.
Yeah.
You can't, if you don't have that much courage, just stay home. You know what I'm saying?
But-
Just stay
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
So there's there's like you were saying, there's the therapy dogs, there's the service dogs, and there's
Yes.
the emotional support animals.
Yes.
And the difference is the therapy dogs go and visit people in the hospitals
Yes.
and help
Like
out in that way,
teachers.
right? And then you've got the emotional support dog, which provide emotional support in pet friendly places.
Yes.
And then they're not protected to be out in regular stores, though. They have to be trained and learn tasks to help mitigate the disabilities.
Yes.
If it's a service dog and they learn their tasks, or even service dogs in training, then they can go out to the stores and
Well, everybody
out.
who gets a dog that claims they got a doctor's letter say CESA also doesn't realize that doesn't guarantee you can keep your dog in your house. That I refer them straight to HUD, because not only does the state push it back to most counties push it back. There's so many rules involved. Like, do you own
There are a lot of
property?
rules.
A lot.
If you only have like less than 5 houses and you do your own maintenance, you don't have to. There's a lot of rules for it, and they change daily. I used to try to keep up with it.
it's
But
hard.
if I get a call from a different state, it's like a nightmare. All of a sudden, you're up doing research for 3 days to find out, because they have never really nailed that law down. So it comes back to your local representative. A lot of them.
Wouldn't it be
your seniors
wonderful
who
if
live
it
in-
was consistent?
Uniform. Yes, it
and
really would be easier.
uniform? Yes,
Absolutely.
it just makes everything for people in organizations like yours.
What we like over in Texas, their laws basically anyone could go anywhere with their dog, but they have to be well trained or they'll get a ticket.
Your dog barks in the store is filing an all ticket. We don't care if you call the service
okay.
dog.
No,
Call it
I'm
pet.
paying
We don't care if
You
your
can
dog
do-
acts up.
Okay.
Well, here's the thing. If you pursue that, I actually like the idea. I guarantee about the third or fourth fine, and if it's double one every time, people will leave
yeah.
that dog home or
People will leave the dog at home.
You know, I think that's a great. I know people put on. Okay, this is probably going to hit a sore spot, but I think people can order like service dog vests
They
right off the.
Right.
And so
Can I
last
just order them?
yes.
Yes.
So a couple years ago, I was at a dog show in.
Wrong.
I think it was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I was in the restroom, and this lady had her cute little black lab in there
Right.
with her, and she told the dog to sit, and I'm like, and she has the vest on, right? And it did. I don't even think it said in training. And I looked, and the dog didn't sit.
No.
No. And then so I'm washing my hands. She told that dog to sit 4 more times. And the lady next to me, we're both looking at each other like,
That's not right.
this
Right.
dog is not a service dog, and it's
No.
doing it's not doing.
And it's outing you.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Being
mean,
outed through your dog.
Yes.
It's a
I
dog
know.
that's not-
I really did, but I was representing another company. But I just really wanted to say, lady, what are you doing? Service dogs, you tell them to sit, they sit. Yeah, my therapy dog, you tell him to sit, he sits. They have to go
Right.
through all kinds of training.
And when
to
they're
do that
service
stuff.
dogs, you shouldn't even really much have to give any
Right.
commands.
Really, if you're
they
walking
just-
up to wash your
they
hands, they
know
should sit.
they know what to
You're having
do
a
when to do
conversation
it.
with your dog. It's got more training to do before you put the service dog patches. And I get a lot of veterans, they get mad with me because I don't have what they, all the places claim like a minimum standard. I'm not going to stop there because if your dog is smart enough to learn 50 things to help you throughout the day, what I found over the years, the minute you graduate them, there's like maybe 1 in 500 veterans to continue the training. That's as far as they take them. I'm like, why would you not? Especially if you're an older veteran. Where are you going to be in 2 years? What does the dog need to be? That's not where you're in the situation. The dog needs to learn more to start doing it. Then and each dog is different, depending on your disability. Everyone that I get, I with intention to get somebody in a wheelchair with some really bad disabilities. This dog's going to be life changing. But the reality is, they'll only go so far. I call it hitting the wall. You think that's going to make it? That's going to make it. Get up one day, you're like everything you teach it loses something. No, that doesn't mean it's not going to help somebody. It just ain't going to help somebody who's missing 3 limbs. And
Right.
like this one here, she's smart. She's learning. She got a lot of energy, but we're going to start teaching her how to get the clothes and bring them to the bathroom. You'll never, ever be able to completely take away the caregiver, but if a caregiver puts your clothes out, and a dog can help you get in your wheelchair, take your clothes, put them in there by the shower.
Yes.
If you drop your medication, they can pick it up and hand it back to you. These things are different. Like some of the veterans, their wife's at home, not their wife can return to work. They can actually go shopping without having to worry have somebody come over and sit for them. And that actually,
That's
we can't
great.
give them back their life the way it should be, but I think
makes
we owe
such
enough
a
to make it
difference.
just that much a little
Better,
easier.
yeah.
It's like,
Yes.
wait a minute, you lost that for me. You know what I mean? You lost your leg. And here's what's sad. You talk to somebody, these guys, they'll get a tear in their eye. They're blind, losing their hearing. And they'll sit there and say, did you eat the feast this morning? Like, yeah, I'd do it again. I'm like, wow. Because I'm telling you right now, I would hurt somebody for you in a heartbeat if we need to. But you talk about coming back like that, and you say I would do it again. If you can't respect, that's what I said.
Yes.
If you're RA,
Yes.
it's something like that, you serve with respect there. But don't, these people who put everything on the line, let's not go out of the way to make sure that they can't take their dog out, that they can't be comfortable, because they actually earned it. If somebody else gets a
They
bad record,
earned
they need that
that
dog to get
and
through,
more.
they just make sure that they
Absolutely.
actually do it.
Yes.
Not leave it at home or don't go at all, because there's so many fake dogs out there, and everybody's like, I know the laws, like, and you're breaking it because nobody's holding you accountable.
Right.
You know, it's
I mean,
like,
you have a right to be in the stores, but you have the responsibility that comes along with it. You
Yeah,
know, and
exactly.
you have to train your dogs to do what they need to do, and we're here to help.
and here's the thing: if you don't want to come to the farm, you don't want to go ask questions at the shop, turn on YouTube. I can tell some people care so little about your dog, and then you want to bring it out in public, and that's not helping anybody. It's like take a little bit of time and train it. It's like I said, a 5-year-old could do my dog. Get up every morning, work with your dog 15, 20 minutes till you get it ready to go to the store, and make
And
sure
you know,
you're
it
sure
makes-
you need it.
For those people who do it, it makes such a difference not only in their dog's life, but in your own, for your own peace of mind and your own enjoyment. It makes life better.
Yeah.
That you communicate better. That the dog communicates better with you. You're simpatico. I mean, it's a great thing to do, and it requires. How much time? You mentioned in the mornings for light training, just
Oh, yeah,
repetitive and every
Yeah,
morning.
Literally, I tell the veterans, if you look back and you keep track for insurance purposes, you'll have 3,000 hours with your dog before it's over with. And that's over a few years. It doesn't happen overnight. In a couple of years, people say it's a service dog. Like I said, it is, but that dog has a long way to go before it's in its prime, and you want to get everything out of that dog that you can. And dogs are like people. As long as they're learning, everybody worries about exercise, proper diet. Just like if you're not using your mind, you're dying.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know, a person sitting on the porch, they might have the worst diet and the worst smoking cigar. They got, but guess what? They're reading a book, or they're actually building
Yes,
something.
yes.
The dogs are the same way. If we keep their mind going, everything else can keep them healthy. As long as they're learning and they continue to learn, it's a good thing.
And what is the average, just the average training? How long does it normally take?
It
before
differs.
you
Yeah,
turn
it
it
could go from a
I know.
year
Between
to,
their
anywhere from a year
disabilities.
to 2 years.
to 2 years?
Depending on, like here in
Yeah.
Lawrenceburg, when they hit here, it's a little bit harder because we're not right outside of Atlanta where the dog's meeting 10,000 people a day. You know
Right.
exactly how. So when you're taking the dog over to Nashville, and you got limited volunteers, you don't, because you want to, when the dog call fully trained, we're not going to help to go any, when it goes home to that veteran, we'll have somebody stay with a couple of weeks. It goes right. We may not see that dog for a couple of years. We have to know it's solid.
Right.
That takes a lot more. And it depends on the disability too, because if you have PTSD and the dog's helping you through different, I'm not saying it's not life changing, but sometimes it's not life threatening if the dog misses something, where if a dog doesn't pick up pills, it is life changing and you drop him out of your wheelchair, that dog has to be spot on. And sometimes a dog, if you start as a puppy, he could be 2.5 years old or more before you know that if this situation happens, that person's going to be okay. And so the more disabled it is, definitely the more complicated it gets. And even when you got like a top dog, it's still scary. You're counting on a dog because you've done seen every dumb thing they did for the last 2.5 years.
Yes.
But they do understand though, because you go over there if you're in a wheelchair and you're role playing. Sometimes the dog don't quite get it, and then the veteran shows up, he's actually in the wheelchair, and the dog does not miss a beat. They realize it's time to be serious. But you touched on it a little bit earlier, out there, get around the handicapped people, this idea the dog could be different. I used to take some of my dogs over with, I call them kids, but they're older. Well, I don't know what word you're supposed to say these days, retarded, whatever, but the dog will respond to them every time. I had one would go around there and give each one the frisbee, and they take
You're talking about, I think, Buffalo River Services.
I think
With the special
They had, the special needs children.
The dog would
They were
growl,
adults,
run
but they
back
were
in
like
there. The
children.
dog would running back in there like, hey, there's nothing wrong with you, get back in there. But the dogs naturally, especially the females, know when something is wrong. That's why I don't consider like deep pressure. I tell the veterans, like, look, don't tell me you're a combat veteran. You want me to write that down on your list, because every female dog at the pound, if you sit down and pretend like you're crying, is going to come and get on your lap. We're not going to call that a task.
Turning on a light to wake you from nightmares, medication
Yeah.
reminders, things like that are the actual tasks. Things that don't come natural to dogs, but they learn it and it helps with the disabilities. So
That makes a lot of sense. So how much longer do you think Peanut has in the
It depends.
program?
If she keeps learning, then she calms down there. But I'm thinking she's actually smart enough to go all the way. So she might be until she's 3 years old, which is sad because it takes so long to get them there, and that's less time they have
with
with the
their
veteran before we
right.
start to get to know them. People get mad at me at the shelter. They got like a perfect 4-year-old dog. I said, you realize a lot of these dogs go 2 years of training.
Right.
And the males tend to retire around 7 to 8 years old.
Yes.
That's a lot of work to put into an animal. It's
Well, I'll let you know, we have a lot of puppies. They're like 4 months old. We've got some that are 2.5 weeks old. So, as soon as they're weaned, you can come pick them up.
If I had the volunteers, that's where we got to get more volunteers. And here's the thing, it's kind of one of those things. It can be monotonous, so it's hard to keep volunteers that do stuff like that. Volunteers. And I mean, if you don't like dogs, you can help out in the office. But they help cut grass, but people don't realize how much there is. You just say dogs, they think, well,
There's so many different
with
things.
a bunch of sticky dogs.
Right.
Well, guess what? They don't realize how much is going on in the office. How many people got to help with fundraising. How many people.
So
Exactly.
there's
Yeah.
something
There's a
for
whole lot.
everyone in the community if they want to volunteer.
Absolutely.
Yes, that's what I sit there and tell everybody all the time. I could empty every shelter out in the world if there was just the funds to tell the seniors, hey, look, we'll take care of the vet bills if something bad happens. Because we have so many seniors that love dogs. And that's why I want that little one. They're afraid of that bill. They take the biggest dog you have right now and give you the best home ever, but they can't afford it. So I'm like, well, if you want to adopt a dog, will you adopt a senior who adopt a dog? Somebody literally needs to start something like that. There's a lot of people around here that would be like, wait, what's that cost a month? They're like, well, if you buy the pet insurance, it'd be $35 a month, $50 a month. And they would actually get more into it. That's a whole other story. When you get
Let me tell you,
it's not that hard to set up for a dog license, and that money could actually be used to help the shelter.
Yeah, we're thinking about that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't see no way around it because you got people here. Like I got a friend, Mandy, she rescues dogs. They picked a dog up, and people won't even want to pay the $75 to get the dog back. They're like, well, I'll go get one free out of the paper. I'm like, how could you have a dog for 7 years?
Just-
It's just amazing to me. We have a couple of senior dogs now, and it's like somebody has to have been missing those dogs.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, that's something that really needs to fix drastically around here too. Somebody loses a dog. We have all these little groups, some good, some bad. I've had a guy come up to the tractor supply, like 20 dogs tied to a tree, telling me he's a rescue too. But they don't communicate. They don't communicate. I tried to get them all together before, and I had two of them show up. This is like 10 years ago. Because I could actually get people call. They think that we say $3,000. We got $3,000 at that farm. That'd be impossible. We have dogs.
No.
They want to
Oh,
get
yeah.
a tractor trailer load of
We've
dogs.
had-
And the rescue groups that get together to
Yeah.
distribute stuff. But I called her like, I'm not going over there with Martha. I'm gonna
We like to work together with others. Yeah.
If we were on a network, if somebody wants to adopt a beagle, somebody wants to get, you could actually get these dogs out of here. But it's
Right.
not if you're actually trying to get the dogs, it's not a competition. You're trying to get them out of the shelter.
Yes.
Let's get them out of there. We got to work together.
Yeah, I'm
What
working
types
with.
of dogs? I'm sorry, Ginger. What types of dogs normally? I know you do all dogs,
Yeah.
but are there some that you're more? You know, you mentioned shepherds. You
Yeah,
mentioned.
that's my downfall. You give me a shepherd, the people, I like working breed. You know what I'm saying? When you get into ones like this, I'll be honest with you, she gets on my nerves. I love her, but all the
Oh
time.
yeah, she's just
She's all wiggly all the
she is a
time.
happy girl.
And they're one of them. You walk in the store, everybody wants. Oh, what are you? They automatically. It makes the training a little bit harder too, because everybody wants to pet that dog. I say, if you have a pit bull or a shepherd, even if people are going to talk to you, you got enough sense to ask you if it's okay to pet it before they stick their arm out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I got a black shepherd at the house right now. I thought about bringing him in. I thought, what size room we're going to be in? Because he's about 110 pounds. He's a well-behaved dog.
Done.
But I guarantee if I'd have walked in, you'd see it would have been a different reaction. You'd have been like, is he safe for pet? Right? Not, you know what I mean?
Yes.
I'm saying not pet. He was
Yes.
like, he's safe for pet.
Now, what about herding dogs? Because they kind of zero into what
That-
somebody
had
wants a
some,
little
but-
but mostly working dogs are a better fit.
The little Australian shepherd, I had the worst luck with, and I'm going to say
Oh,
it.
okay.
I know other people who train them as service dogs. I swear they're great. Everyone I've got, yeah, over the years, they
not.
got somebody on the foot. You know what I'm saying?
They got the wiggly butt, just like
Yes.
the rear end, just
Yeah,
like
it is.
Peanut there.
Some are just easier, but when you're adopting dogs, if you know nothing about the bloodline other than it's probably not a good one or it wouldn't be at the pound. You know what I'm saying? Because most people that are true breeders, their dogs, you don't buy a puppy for $10,000 and drop it off at the pound. And
Yeah.
that's where I get into a lot of with the veterans who want to buy a dog. It's like, look, you think you're going to get a good dog for $2,500. It's
The
not going
training.
to happen.
No.
The genetic test it's like, I've got one of the veterans, I told him he was hell bent on breeding his dog. I said, it looks like a good dog. You get the genetic test and stuff like that, but that will not be your service dog. We'll use one of the other ones. Well, he's pretty fortunate. His puppies sell for $14,000 each, and there's actually a waiting list. I guarantee his dogs will not end up at the pound. No one's going to drop $14,000 on a puppy and then turn around and let it end up at the pound.
Right.
But that's very rare. Majority of the people who are backyard breeders don't even realize they're backyard breeders. They got a real clean pen and they play with the puppies and they swear how good it is. To me, it's like if you're competing, you know the genetics. Your male's at least 7 years old when you're breeding it. But you go to these breeders now, they're breeding a dog that's hiding behind them because it's afraid. It's so young, it should never be bred. And if you're not going to spend the money on genetic tests and make sure everything's there, have a couple of judges actually write up it doesn't meet all the standards for that breed. You're not trying to improve the breed. You're trying to make a fast buck.
Right.
Every once in a while, you get some of them that are lucky and have some really good dogs. But if you're going to spend money, do a little bit of research to see what you're up against. There are some good dogs out there for that price. Right? But I'm gonna tell you right now, every dog you can think of within 50 miles of your house, there's a rescue group
That
will
has
give
one.
you one with
Right.
papers. It might be fixed, but
Oh,
if you're
yes.
not worried about breeding,
Exactly. Yeah,
I
we
promise you, if you're going to get something, if you're going to get a surprise, save a life.
yeah
You
we
know what
have
I'm saying?
Yeah.
we have a dog at the shelter now that has papers. And I looked at the paper. I was going to call the breeder. I kind of did a little research. I'm okay. Yeah, no, because that's not the only breed
Right.
that that the person breeds. There's a whole, a whole alphabet.
The
of-
main focus with our mission is we're saving lives at both ends of the leash.
Yes, you
Right.
are.
I mean, there's
Exactly.
22 veterans commit suicide
Yes.
daily. It's
But they say 22.
It's-
If you actually
it's
look at
actually-
it's way higher. They don't want to look at real numbers because if they did, they would have to actually do something. But
Yes.
out of 5 guys I know committed suicide, only one of them is listed as suicide. Guys know you got a family, this, that, and the other.
Sad.
If you commit suicide, they get nothing. But if it's a bad accident, they get 500,000, and then you get these phone calls like they, like one of my buddies killed. He said, "This is the way it has to be." Within a couple hours, his wife called, telling me about this tragic wreck. Now, he knows if it would have went out with a suicide note, his family would have got nothing. But if you're sitting at home and you realize you're worth more dead than you are alive, and you don't have anything to do, it could get inside your head.
Yeah.
That's why I tell them, get out, volunteer,
We-
do something besides sit around the house. Because you're asking for trouble.
Yes.
If you pick up bad habits and you've got all day to do it, you're really asking for trouble. You got to get out.
I can only imagine how bad that would be.
Well, you see, the only way to get out of your head is to get out of your house. You can't
Right,
sit in your
yeah.
house and think you ain't gonna come up with it. So the whole time out of mind, the devil's den. If you're sitting there long enough, you will get some dumb ideas. You got to get out and do something.
And
Absolutely.
you're going to get those dumb ideas that you think are really smart too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Brenda, so if someone is interested in volunteering for your organization, how do they reach out to you?
They can call us at 84-DOGS-HELP, or if you want to go onto our website, that's workingdogsforvets.org, and there's a volunteer application on there that they could fill out and just ring our phone or email us support@workingdogsforvets.org, and we'll figure out, what volunteer position's right for you.
And like you said, you have volunteer positions that don't necessarily have to deal with handling dogs.
Correct.
So if somebody is good at fundraising or landscaping is your
Yes.
deal, or just
Reach out.
or weed eating. If you're really good with a weed eater,
We
they
got
need you.
a couple
Yeah.
rules though because of our insurance company. You got to
Yeah.
be over 16, or your parents have to be with you. Unfortunately, our insurance
Okay.
company, and if you are 16, they really limit what I'm allowed to let you do.
Yeah.
It's
So probably
terrible.
weed eating is not one of them.
Right.
But they might.
They got a motor on it. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
I got to pay workers' comp and stuff, or you can't do it. It's just crazy. There's so many rules anymore. It's like no wonder nothing gets done. Years ago, if you had a charity, you get a band, 2 kegs of beer, you raise enough money to run the next 3 months. And now you
Yeah.
got to I literally could. Now
Yes.
there's so many rules and regulations. You
Yeah.
want to have an event? It's like, what do you mean? You want me to put out $30,000 to make the city happy, have security, do this? When I can't. If it's a rain day, then
Then you're out of luck.
it's
Yeah.
like there's so
Right.
many rules and regulations of what you're allowed to do, what you can do, what the insurance company wants, what does the city want, what does the state want, the county. You know what I mean? It's just like a whole list. of that to
Obviously,
make
there
sure-
needs to be some uniform laws going on.
I
Yeah.
think
Well,
that would be very helpful.
Yeah.
Easier.
People talk about some of the big organizations and they talk about how much the CEO makes and stuff like that. I'm like, do you realize the amount of money that goes through there and the CEO you would have to run something like that? But
Right.
some of them get so much money if they ask me, I'll be like, oh, I'm out. No, I'm just waiting for mine. But I guarantee you, a lot of them, when they're that big, a third of the money's going to keep the government happy. Literally with the different rules and regulations, who they have to hire, what do they have to do. About a third of their money goes straight to all these crazy rules.
Yes.
It does. A lot of it does.
Well,
Yeah,
we're
it shouldn't be like that. I mean, look, I can understand you have to have rules because somebody's doing something illegal, you have to shut them down, but you don't have to put them in place where you make sure. Like there was years when we first started that I'd have to pay accountants and stuff more than I took in. I'm like, this is not fair.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody goes through all this. I'm like, wait a minute. I said a charity, if more money goes to appease the government than you could actually spend on the charity.
We need a Department of Simplification,
Oh,
I
and
think.
common
Oh, that's a
sense.
great.
Simplification and
Yes,
common
that's
sense.
I would like to run that department.
That's above my pay grade. I want to thank you both. We've got a couple of things that we need to touch base about, clear the shelter, but if you wouldn't mind with the Peanut staying here.
Sure.
Because
Absolutely.
again, if anybody wants to volunteer, Brenda, do you mind giving that information?
Sure. You can call us on the phone. It's 843-647-4357. It's spelled out 84-DOGS-HELP. We made that memorable to make it easy. Or our website, workingdogsforvets.org. It has a lot of resources on it. Or you could email us, support@workingdogsforvets.org.
That sounds
Thank you,
great.
guys.
Thank you. And Ginger?
We are-
Doggist, I hear Doggist,
Doggist,
and
yes,
Clear
so
the
we-
Shelter.
I'm telling you, we had a great time for the dogs' birthdays last Friday.
Wonderful.
So we're gonna continue that because they all want us, celebrate their birthday all month, kind of like I like to do mine.
I think that sounds
mine's
great.
in November. So we're also
October.
So this Friday is again Black Dog Friday, and adoptions are free for those who qualify. And then for the entire month for Clear the Shelter, the adoptions are $20. And we've had, I want to say probably 4 or 5 adoptions already this month. So I'm happy about that. Yesterday I think I processed 3, so I was happy.
That sounds great.
Except we need to move them out so we can make room for those out there that are still in need.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's great. And you've got a lot of events coming up. And again, Black Dog
Yep.
Fridays.
Yes. And-
if anybody is interested in a dog, they can go on Pet Finder.
Exactly. Yep.
And they can also call you at
244-0265.
again.
Again, 244-0265. I think you just had me repeat it because you like that.
I
How
do.
I go into that Delilah easy
Yeah,
listening
you do.
voice.
You do. You kind of use your radio voice,
Because
and
I don't
like
have
to,
that voice all.
I like to
all the
see
time.
this. Well,
and this Saturday,
Okay.
we'll have volunteers and stuff out at the shelter. We had a really good, successful slobber saloon.
Slobber
Out, yeah.
Saloon.
So
Okay.
Brutus Bone Broth has donated some stuff. I got a big box in the mail today. So
Wow.
come out. We're gonna make little mocktails, I guess, for
Mocktails for the dogs.
dogs,
Oh,
yeah.
that sounds exciting.
we had some little blueberry spritzers on Friday. So
Oh, well, that sounds nice and refreshing. And the weather's gotten a little bit cooler, just a little
thank
bit.
goodness.
Yes, thank goodness. So it's great for the doggies. It's great for everybody. It's great for the volunteers. So if they want to volunteer, if you do want to volunteer, you can call Ginger directly, or you can you can email your contact information to
Folka volunteer
at gmail.com. Again, that's Folka, Folca, volunteer at gmail.com.
And there's no S on volunteer.
There's no S on volunteers. I do want to say before we go, we really need to thank our sponsors. I mean, without these wonderful sponsors, the Lawrence County Animal Hour could not happen. So if you're getting your eyes checked or your ears checked or you're buying new furniture, please thank Story and Leigh, which is a wonderful sponsor. It's been sponsoring since our inception. Hearing Services of Middle Tennessee, Lawrenceburg Eye Care with Dr. Jason Fort, and then, of course, our sponsor, WLX, who makes this all happen. So, Ginger, before we leave, is there any other thing that you want to talk about? I know we need to mention the event that's coming up September the 6th. That's exciting.
That is exciting. That was so much fun last year, and Soulshine Farm is so peaceful.
Oh, thanks. I hope it's peaceful again this year. So the event is called An Evening with Friends at Soulshine Farm, September the 6th. Tickets are on sale now. And we did sell out last year. It was great. There was
Yes.
a waiting list.
There was a waiting list.
So we can even deliver tickets, which that's how most of them are being sold. But you can also go online if you want to and purchase them that way too. The link is found on the Friends of Lawrence County Animals Facebook page. It's a great event. We're going to have a silent auction. It's outside. It's out by the lake. We have a lot of fun. The Casey's prepared these delicious steaks.
They were really good.
They were really good. They do a great job. Steak, baked potato, salad.
I've craved one since last year.
Oh, I know. Well, it'll be here before you know it. So just wanted to throw that out there. We're really excited. And we also are planning right now for our clinics, spay-neuter clinics for Lawrence County SNPs. We're looking at maybe 3 or 4 this fall and
That's
3
great.
in the spring. So that's really exciting. If you need to have your animals, if you need financial assistance with spay or neutering, you can call 931-852-4907. And a volunteer will help you. 931-852-4907. And a volunteer will be able to help you. Also, regarding the clinics, we will be posting when those are as well on our Facebook page. So, again, I know we have roughly about a minute and a half left. Thanks, guys, for coming out here. Brenda, you and I have spoken very often. It's
Yes,
so great to
it
finally
really
meet you in
is.
person. Yes, you have a wonderful organization.
Oh, so do you. Thank you
and
guys so much for having us.
It's thrilling to see you and your volunteers go through Tractor Supply, go around town. We're glad you're here, and we hope you continue to stay here.
I just can't wait till we're off the air and they can take Peanut's vest off so she's not working anymore.
Now.
Thank you guys.
Peanut
I'm gonna go make friends now.
is great. Peanut is just a great dog. We want to thank her for coming
hold on.
out.
Hold on.
And she knows it's coming off. Oh,
Now
Peanut.
you can be a dog.
Goodness.
You can be a real dog right now.
And look at the difference in Peanut.
Again, thanks to our sponsors. We really appreciate it. Thanks to WLX. Thanks you, Peanut, you little sweet pea. And if you would like to volunteer for either of our organizations, please reach out. Your lives will be meaningful and you'll make a difference in the lives of others. We really appreciate it. We'll see you next week on Lawrence County Animal Hour.